Welcome to the FasCat podcast. I'm your host, Frank Overton. Some call me the Big Cat. And I'm joined with the Rafa model, Jackson Long.
I just can't escape it, can I?
Jackson's fresh off of a photo shoot in LA.
It was cold there, and it was like, I woke up this morning and was like walking around, and I was like, man, it feels warmer in Colorado than it did in LA. But hey,
it snowed there, didn't it?
Yeah, it snowed up like a lot on Mount Baldy. So the road, like they've had a crazy amount of rain, and it rained a lot when we were there, but they've had really bad mudslides. So a lot of the stuff in Malibu that burned has caused crazy landslides and mudslides on the road. So they've closed a lot of stuff, but we still got some cool stuff, some great riding. I haven't ridden up in like the Angeles Forest area up above, kind of northeast of LA. And man, it's like a whole different world out there. You don't even feel like you're in LA. It's really cool.
It's good riding.
It's great. Yeah. So it was nice. It was a nice little trip, but I'm glad to be back in the bubble.
Well, you missed a blizzard, and then
an old man winter,
and of course we had a windstorm last night.
Yeah, that was insane.
Last night the house
insane.
shook.
Yeah.
The house shook. The winds were cresting 80 miles an hour. I was following it on the in-car weather report. Yeah, they have the real-time the weather station.
It was 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's when I went to bed. It may have gotten higher. I didn't check this morning.
It was brutal.
It was windy. Today we are talking about training camps, how to design your own personal training camp, not relying on a team, although we'll talk about that, what happens if you're going to go do a team training camp. Not necessarily paying to go on a cycling trip, which we'll touch on too, because those are awesome as well, but how to solve the problem of you want to train a lot. We talked about CTL last week. And everyone, we're in the middle of winter. How to solve the problem of how to raise your CTL when you live in New York or Michigan or even here in Colorado. I'd like to do a training camp.
Yeah.
I actually did a training camp last month, so we'll talk about that. But we'll talk about what the goals are, how to design it, some of the numbers, things to consider. In addition to all the biking, there's nutrition, recovery, and yeah, we'll touch base with Coach Isaiah. Coach Isaiah just got through a week-long team training camp in the Bay Area. They did, I believe, they did it out of Berkeley and Oakland with a lot of trips up and down Mount Diablo.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we'll talk with Coach Isaiah what a professional training camp was like, and we'll share our own personal experiences with what we've done with training camps. You and I have done a training camp together.
Yeah.
See you cycling.
Yeah, I mean, it's training camps are...
That was spring break.
Spring break training camp, classic collegiate, thing. We talked about that with Isaiah when we were talking about on the college, collegiate cycling episode, and I think it's just one of the best parts of being a bike racer. I think it's, I've always been the kind of person that really loves the process of training and the process of, being in that zone of just like, focusing on the training and like going, being like going into that monk mode, like you say. And a training camp is just like perfect for that, I think. And, as a result, it can create some really good adaptations for the upcoming season. So I've got some good stories. I'm sure you do.
Yeah. That collegiate camp, it was spring break. That was great.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's perfect timing leading into collegiate nationals.
It was 2 weeks before collegiate events. Yep. Yeah. And also we have Coach Jake moderating the Facebook group. We are live on Facebook, and bring your questions. Coach Jake will do his best to get to them. We will also take some time at the end of this live podcast to answer your questions as well. Coach Jake and I met at a training camp, 2006, Priority Health, California. We did a team training camp. We did it out of a hotel. Just one of the kinds that you drive up and you park next to the door.
Motel, not a hotel.
Sorry, motel. And it was like we got like 4 or 5 rooms for the riders and the staff, and then we did a race, and then in between the races we got a host housing, and this was back in the days of the NRC racing. I believe it was Merced. No, Merced, then Central Valley, then Redlands. Yeah, and so we did like a 3-week-long camp. That's where I met Ted King, Eddie Hildrer, Tom Zerbel was there, Brent Bookwalter.
Man, hit squad.
That was a great team. A lot of Brian Shee put all that together. So nice work, Brian. That was a good camp. But anyway, Coach Jake and I met there, and I'll never forget Ted King on the edge of a bed with this box full of parts from a Power Tap hub, like a gazillion stickers and these zip ties, and he was like, "What is this?
What do I do?"
Remember the old yellow computers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was back in those days, and I had to go home. I was like, "Good luck, Ted," and email me your power data.
Yeah.
So a lot of good stories come from training camps. What makes training camps so good? Basically, it's time in the saddle. That's what you're looking for. If you live in upstate New York, Michigan, anywhere where it's bad weather right now, you're going to a training camp right now, because if you lived in Southern California, you would be doing 4 and 5 hour rides. And
but not right now. It's pretty cold there. Pretty rainy and cold in SoCal. I will say so myself.
Well, maybe next weekend it'll be back
I'm
there.
sure it'll be back to normal very soon.
But that's what you're doing. You're solving. You're getting a big bump up in your training load. We just did Masters CTL last week. A training camp is a great way to add 10 to 15 TSS per day, like a bump from 70 to 85 in like a 3 or 4 day span. We'll get into some of the data from the training camp that I did in Mill Valley a month ago. I went from, I think it was 58 to 72 in 4 days, and someone's knocking at the door. All right. Well, we're going to continue on. The dog will stop barking, but I lost my train of thought. So
your CTL bumped up.
Oh yeah,
significantly, and it wasn't even. I mean, what was that? A week-long training camp?
We did 4 days.
4 days of riding.
We'll talk about how to structure a 3-day camp, a 4-day camp, a 7-day camp, because that's what most people do. When you talk about getting away for the weekend, you can burn 1 day at work, like a Friday, fly in late Thursday night or early Friday morning, do a medium length ride on Friday, go super duper big on Saturday, and then finish it off on a Sunday, for example. We went on Martin Luther King weekend, so we had Monday off, or a lot of the guys that I went with did, and so we did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. President's Weekend is this it's this weekend, and man, I think I got a FedEx delivery, so sorry.
We can hit pause. It's no big deal.
Well, no, I don't think it's necessary. I know exactly what that is. It's a bike part that I ordered. Classic.
Is it the Wahoo through axle adapter?
No, I got that last week. I solved that problem and then found another one with Bluetooth connectivity, and that kicker is for sale on eBay.
Ooh,
the auction ends tomorrow. Sorry, kicker, but I don't have time for that. But so we planned this out. These were some guys that lived in a terrible weather region, and they were limited to like 1 hour a day, maybe an hour and a half on the trainer. And they have the ways and the means to take time off work, to get in an airplane, to pack their bike. And so I was like, hey, why don't we meet in Mill Valley? We'll do all this great riding. Your training load will get nice and high, and you'll be all set when it comes to your goals by March and April. They're doing the land run in Oklahoma coming up next month. So we met out there, super easy trip, direct flight, unpacked the bikes. We did 4 hours the first day. We did 5 on Saturday. We did another 4 on Sunday. And then by then we were really tired on Monday. And so we did a flat, easy zone 2 ride for 3 hours. I can tell you my TSSs since we talked about that last weekend. We did 252 the first day, 299 the big day. That was like, Mount Tam, Alpine Dam, all that. Great, phenomenal ride. Then we did 227 on day 3 in 4 hours, and then 3 hours on the last day, 177. And that took me
Pretty
from
solid.
57 to 74. So the astute listener may be saying, well, you talked about ramp rate last week, and we did. And this would, if for all the doctors out there, nurses, any medical practitioners, this is the bolus dose. Just ram it in, get as much training as you possibly can to pack it in because you're going back home.
Yeah, you only have a limited window. And Jonathan Day asks, how about incorporating the training camp into the plan. We're going to talk about that, so stay tuned.
Now would be a good time to mention that, because everyone that's on a training plan is probably saying, Frank, FTFP, and then they're like, well, you're talking about training camps, and I recommend you do one, but this is a custom solution. And, we just can't do a training camp into our training plans because...
Just assume everyone can do it this exact week.
It has to be on your own terms. So think of a time where you can take time off in the next 6 to 8 weeks, figure out where you want to go, look at Airbnb, look at the hotels, look at your lodging options, look at flights, figure out your logistics. And then once you got that part ironed out, then in Training Peaks, you probably want to cut and paste a whole week off, maybe even 2 weeks. We'll get into that. Move out 2 weeks, and then let's just
delete everything that was in there.
Don't delete. Copy and paste and move the training you have forward.
Got it.
Yeah. Now, for the time leading into the training camp, you want to probably rest up. If I had not rested up for this 4-day block, I'd have been crippled after day 2. So I took a couple of easy days going into there, and sure enough, with the sea level air, I've had the sea level watts. I felt nice and fresh up until about day 3. So carve out some multiple rest days going into your camp, and then if your periodization, if you've organized it right, say you do. So we did, 9, 13, 16. We did about 16 hours in 4 days, plus the 2-hour out I did the day before. So it was like an 18-hour week. That warrants a rest week after. That's why you want to probably carve out 2 weeks of your training plan. Move it forward. This is a custom solution, by the way. And then in Training Peaks, put in the length of your ride in the plan, and then go ahead and put in your TSS. And I think estimating about 50 TSS per hour is going to be good when you're getting after it. And so everyone wants to know about intervals, this and that, and the answer is don't do any of that when you're on a training camp.
Intervals on training camp.
No intervals on training camp. Unless you don't want to have fun. Do you want to have fun?
I think intervals are fun, kind of.
So, okay, we joke just but a little bit. First of all, if you are on a team and you have the opportunity to do a team camp, you do not want to be that rider that's like, my coach is having me do 5x6. Dude, you do what the team does. Right. That's how the team camp is not all about you. It's about building team cohesion. So be a cog in the wheel and team player. Go do what the team is. There's usually a leader on the team, and they're gonna say, hey, we're doing this, and this. And we'll talk about Coach Isaiah. I talked with him, and they had a set itinerary every day of what they were going to do, and that's what the whole team did. And so that's the benefit of that. So do that if you're with a team. If you're by yourself, use the terrain to get in your sweet spot, your tempo. You're probably not going to be doing a lot of threshold or zone 5 work unless you're really close to your goal event. If you're doing hitting it out, zone 5, 6, maybe even some 4 on day 1 and 2, you're gonna be crispy Kringle by the time you get to day 3 or 4, or even longer. So chill out. This is where sweet spot is super good, and you're just looking to get in volume. That's because that's the problem you're solving. Remember, you can do intervals at home on your home trainer. Yeah. That doing 3x5 VO2. That's a good hour workout. Save that for when you're at home, when you're closer to the race season. But here, the problem you're solving is you can't do a 4-hour ride at home, so you're going to do a 4 to 6 hour ride at camp. And use the terrain. So we're in Mill Valley. We chose Mill Valley for its weather, for its ease to get to, for the Airbnb we found, and for the wonderful training terrain. And the Tesla you got to ride in. We did rent we rented a ludicrous mode we rented a P100X whatever, but it had the ludicrous mode, and we found it on Turo, which is like Airbnb for cars.
Wow.
Dr. Nathan found it, and he got it, and
Did you rip it?
we demonstrated how it goes from 0 to 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds.
You went ludicrous.
It puts your head back
Yeah.
on the headrest. When you step on it,
Yeah.
it's like bam,
Like slammed.
G-force. But if anyone's ridden in Mill Valley and in Marin,
It's amazing.
There's a gazillion different 10 to 20 minute climbs, maybe 25 to 30 if you go all the way up to Mount Tam.
Yeah.
But we could just go up and down on these amazing loops, and what we did is we just sweet spotted the whole time. We had a TSS goal for each day. We knew what that TSS goal meant for hours, and every day that's what we had planned out. And we weren't like, we're going to do 3 by 15. We were a group of 4.
It's that freestyle sweet spot.
Freestyle sweet spot. Yeah, use the terrain.
It's great.
And if you're in Tucson and you're riding flat, that's a great place to do like a zone 2 camp.
Well, I'm going to get to that when I talk about some of my camps. I did a training camp in Tucson.
And then you do your sweet spot and up Lemon.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear one of those stories.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, I think, first of all, just the training camp, aside from just being able to get in a ton of volume in a warm place, especially if you're coming from Colorado or somewhere really cold and snowy and unpredictable weather. Maybe even it's just like it is outside today, 50 degrees but kind of cloudy, and like a lot of the climbs are still wet and snowy, and it's just unpredictable. Like the comfort in knowing that you're going somewhere that's going to have consistent warm weather that you don't have to worry about makes a huge difference.
Huge.
And then I think on top of that, it also gives you a chance to kind of like escape from all the other responsibilities that you normally have. And so you can kind of like step into that monk mode world where
monk mode.
Yeah, and it's like, it is a little bit selfish. It's a bit kind of privileged to be able to do that, but it makes a big difference for even just once a year to be able to just have that like tunnel vision insulated training camp so that you can really just focus on the training, the eating, the recovery, and that's the whole purpose of a training camp. So when I was, I guess, a sophomore in college, my sophomore year, I got on this team, the Horizon Panache team, which is like this really high level elite team. Cat 1, we were doing the whole NRC calendar. And I decided to take the spring semester off of school to, really jump full into that. And so in, I think, February, so around this time, that year I took like a month basically and went and lived in an Airbnb in Tucson.
Nice.
With one of my friends and roommates. And so we just kind of lived down there, and it was like full on monk mode. And the weather was amazing. It was just like huge volume, we were doing the shootout every Saturday, it's like 100 plus miles in 4 hours or whatever, just like crazy, training and eating, like really focused. And I mean, I can get into the whole negative side of that because it kind of I took it to the next level, as cyclists sometimes do, and so I talk about that a lot. But I think the positive aspects of that training camp was just being able to control all the food, control all the training, have, Tucson's a great place for riding bikes because there's like, you can get flat rides, you can get some big climbs like Mount Lemmon. And it was just a great early season block to build up for things like Redlands and Gila and, these big NRC races that were coming up in the early season, because for us in Colorado, it's super hard to get that kind of consistency.
That's right. You can plan out a personal training camp in Colorado all the way until May.
Yeah.
And if the blizzard comes in, it's not happening. And then, I tell all pro racers, where are you going to go in the spring? Because it can't be Colorado, because you're always a slave to the weather. And for those of you that remember last week, we were talking about peak CTLs. Training camp is a great way to hit your peak CTL, and you want to plan it out and organize it in relation to your periodization, your rest weeks, and also the timing with your first A race. And so
Yeah.
you could do a training camp, achieve peak CTL, go back home, recover, start doing intervals to get ready for your race, and then you're super fast. You know, it's not just about the CTL and the base; it's also about the raw power that wins races.
But on the flip side, kind of coming back to my time there, it's like I was there for like a month, and then the rest of the team came. I was just there by myself with a friend, basically. The rest of the team came, and then we did our own week-long training camp where we were practicing sprint lead-outs.
Yeah.
We were doing, different testing. We were, dialing in the new equipment, all of that. All the fun stuff of, a full-on team camp. And there's just, like, honestly, there's just not a lot, there's nothing better than having a team camp where you're getting to know all the other people and you're just riding all day and, having someone cook for you and living in this, house together. It's super fun, watching movies, the whole thing. But you have to be careful, and I think we should talk about this, is about overdoing it, because that's what I did, essentially. I mean, you have to really take care of the food and the recovery, because it is a lot. It's a lot of stimulation for the body, for the mind. And I just kind of cracked, honestly. Like I overdid it. I lost
Which
too
is
much
exactly
weight.
the wrong time of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I lost too much weight. I was really fast because like my acute, power and like, FTP was super high, and I was like feeling super strong, putting in tons of hours. But then my 5-minute power dropped. And so then once we hit those early season races like San Dimas, Redlands, Gila, I was basically just DNFing all those races, and I felt awful. And I got sick. And so that just kind of was...
It's just, you spiral out of control. It's like one thing leads to another, to another. Yeah, I see that a lot with young riders who are super motivated, and they bite off way more than they can chew. And and I got a couple of stories on that. But so what makes a training camp right? What's the right amount? And let's talk about what's the right amount for bike riding, and let's talk about what you do off the bike, because I think that's super important for a training camp. And that's one of the things I asked Isaiah about, and you'll hear from him. But what's the right amount? Let's use a 3-day camp, because that's probably the most realistic for a lot of people. And so say you're doing a 3-hour camp. Let's think in terms of 3 hours the first day, 5 the second day, and then 4 the final day, like a Sunday. And so 3, 5, 4 is 12 hours in 3 days. You can do that. You can grit your way through it. You want to take a couple of easy days leading into that.
So maybe before, what's the ideal optimal length of a training camp?
It's going to depend. I mean, if you have a whole week to take, why not? Why not rush it? You can accomplish more in a week than you can in 3 days. And if you do a week-long camp, remember to take a rest day in the middle. A lot of people do a 7-day camp, and they just ride their brains out, and they get to day 4 or 5 and they're crippled, and then they have to take the final 2 days of camp off. Or they just do junk miles. So structure it out, plan your rest days. And that's for a 7-day camp. If you're doing a 4-day camp, you want to ride all 4 days and just plan your rest before and after. The travel 3-day camp, same thing. 5-day camp, it depends on who you are. When we did training camps with FasCat, we would always make them 4 days max, because what we found is we do the intro day, 2 big days, and the final day everyone's shot, including the coaches. And unless if you're doing more than a 4-day camp, I would not go, spread out the training load, spread out the TSS, spread out the hours. And if you're doing a 6 or 7-day camp, plan in a legit full-on recovery day. It could be a coffee shop ride, but just make sure it's short, like an hour or less, or even completely off. If you're going to somewhere nice, you can do the tourist thing. If you're with family, a lot of people do a training camp like this with family. When I go on spring break next month, I'm going to do a little mini training camp. We'll be there for the whole 7 days, but I'm not going to go berserk. for 2 reasons. One, I wouldn't be able to ride all 7 days. But
are you going to Hawaii?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jealous.
Warm weather. That was strategic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Where, so, you know, for everyone out there that's coming up on spring break and you have, you know, as long as you're not going to Disney World, maybe you can find a place that everyone wants to go to and get something out of, and you do too.
Yeah.
Right? And then so what you want to do, you know, a surefire way to get in the doghouse is to do 5-6 hour rides. And that's not going to work for anyone because you're going to be wrecked the rest of the day and you can't enjoy, you know, your family time. So think of it like this. I'm going to do like 2 hour rides in the morning before the kids get up. And I'm going to try to do 2 hour rides for 7 days. That's a 14-hour week. I will be thoroughly shellacked tired from that. And that's a great way of spreading out the load. I'll probably take a rest day in there, like what I preached in the middle of the week, so that I can actually have the oomph. But yeah, that would be like a 7-day camp. And I'm not going to shoot for the moon. You know, my training is consistent now until then. It's going to be consistent after then. So the training camps do not give you the excuse to not train for like a month and then just cram it all in like a lot of people do when they go down to Tucson.
Yeah.
The best way to get faster is stay consistent, and then you schedule this block of time and you get faster. So anyway, numbers back to the training plan.
Yeah.
and that. So think of it like your big day would be like 300 TSS. Your medium day is going to be like 2 to 250 TSS. And then on the day when you're tired, that's going to be your flat ride, your zone 2. Maybe that's like 3 hours and 150 TSS. And I'm talking from the masters, we're 40 plus, that sort of range. But the whole point of designing your own personal training camp is it's personal to you. And we want to plant the seed, give you guys some ideas so you can plan it out on your own. Maybe it's 4 days, 5 days. Maybe you do one big long day, maybe, you know, rest days, the works. So that's the bike riding part. And this is what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
There's more to a good training camp than just bike riding. There's nutrition and there's recovery. I have done many training camps where we got there the first day, we did a big ride, we came back, no one's thought about what you're going to eat. We go to the grocery store, we shop, we get back, we're too tired to cook that food that we just bought. We go out to dinner, and then it's 11 p.m. and we just messed up our sleep for the night and we're wrecked the rest of the time. So a good training camp also factors in nutrition and recovery.
And I'd argue that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how much you're riding if you can't absorb that load. And it's so common, I think, that exact scenario where it's like you're super motivated to put in tons of hours, you're like excited, you're going to this new place, it's beautiful weather, and you're like, oh, I'll worry about that stuff later because I have all this time. It's amazing how fast time moves when you're on a training camp, because you're just like, you know, it takes time to, like, you know, get the bikes ready and then get out the door, and then you want to stop and take pictures on the ride, and you're like, yeah, this is super fun. You get back, you're tired, and the absolute last thing you want to do is go shopping, get in the car, go shopping, especially if it's a big group, like, you know, you have to figure out how much you're going to eat and all that. And so I think you have to, like, get all of that stuff figured out beforehand. You know, just like you're putting it out on the calendar, you know, in Training Peaks, what you're going to do, you should have a notebook or on the calendar what you're going to eat, and, you know, what kind of recovery stuff are you going to do. And, like, take an extra day or an afternoon before you start there to get all of that stuff organized, you know?
That's right. Yeah. And, you know, get to the camp early. If you get there on a Thursday, that's when you go to the grocery store, you get all your food. And this is a reason why you want to maybe do a house or an Airbnb with a kitchen, because you can cook in that kitchen. Hotels, motels, camping, can't cook there, and you wind up going out to restaurants, and then by doing so you eat poorly, and then you cut into your opportunity to take a nap and then get 8 or 9, 10 hours of sleep and recover better. So plan ahead and factor that in. You know, going out to restaurants for breakfast and dinner, that's not only is that expensive and it's not nutritious because you can't, eat well like that. You just, it's so much work to get in the car or go to the restaurant and come back. It's so time consuming. There's not enough time in the day and you're cutting into your recovery. And I will say this, what we're talking about, the same thing applies if you ever do a stage race.
Right.
If you do a 4 or 5 day stage race, the same thing. Stay in a house if you can, cook your own food so you can sleep and recover well.
And sometimes what I do, especially if I'm driving to a training camp, I prefer to drive to a training camp or a stage race, because then I can pack up my car with all the food and things that I'm used to, to have with me, so that I just, I'll grocery shop beforehand or right when I get into town, have it in the car, have a big cooler in there, and then it's like you're basically ready to go, and then you don't have to worry about it as much. And you're where you're scrambling around, you get to the Airbnb and there's oh, I don't have a rice cooker, what do I do? It's bring the rice cooker if you have a car.
Bring the rice cooker if you drive.
It's huge. And that kind of thing. Also, just having all of your nutrition, bars and gels and everything you're gonna have on the bike.
Do all that
ready
in advance.
To go. Yeah.
Pack all that stuff. That goes in your bike box. You got up to 50 pounds. Your bike weighs less than 20.
Yeah. So it's you got to do that.
Yeah.
And bring your foam roller. Bring your bands and whatever your stretching materials. Your Normatec boots if you have them. This is a time to be super dialed and super hardcore about recovery.
To that point said, be a Boy Scout with bringing all your recovery tools, all your nutrition if you can. Take care of your bike before you go.
Totally.
You do not need to be going to the bike shop to get a new tire or to fix this and that you were too lazy to before the camp. So make sure your bike is dialed. If you're super into it, call VeloFix or Beeline Bikes, or organize with the bike shop in the town or neighborhood you're going to, in case you need a safety net for your mechanic stuff. But don't arrive, build up your bike, and then be held up by bike stuff or an errand. There's no errands. Don't do any errands. Spend the time taking a nap or laying on the couch. And a lot of people on the live podcast are asking, what are the intensities? Zones 2 through sweet spot. Pretty simple as that. I kind of talked earlier about not doing threshold, not doing zone 5 work.
Yeah, is a training camp a bad time to do an FTP test?
Yeah, probably. I mean, do that back at home. Remember, the training camp is solving that
volume,
that solution. Yeah. It's providing that solution of volume, and unless you do it the first day, but I've never had an athlete do that. It's coming off of a plane trip or a car drive. But okay. So that's nutrition. Cook your meals. What were we talking about? This is winning in the kitchen. This is your rice, eggs, kale, broccoli for breakfast. You can do oatmeal. Then you're out on your bike. You got all your nutrition with you. You come home. If you're diligent, you've pre-cooked your rice. You have something in the cupboard ready to go. That's your recovery meal. Yeah. If you go to a really nice camp, maybe there's someone taking care of you. The staff, they're going to feed you a recovery meal. Maybe someone's going to give you a massage. Maybe after the massage, you go take a nap. And then you lay on the couch or lay in the bed. This is kind of like the oat route, the pro experiences. They offer you, it's all in one place. And now might be a good time to mention my coaching weekend intensives.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this summer, we're going to be rolling out coaching weekend intensives. This is going to be a continuation on some of the training camps we've done. But it's going to be everything in one place. Come stay at my house. So lodging's taken care of. You'll stay in my kitchen. Cooking is taken care of. And massage will be provided. We'll get a mechanic. That'll all be right there. And it's going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Show you how to train properly, just like what we talked about, zones 2 through sweet spot. We'll show you how to eat right, win in the kitchen, nutrition, and show you how to recover well. And to be honest, the best way to recover is to get 8 hours of sleep. The best way to do that is not go out to dinner, and stay out late, and we sound like we're grandpas.
I know.
Sound like you're fuddy-duddies, but this is monk mode, man.
Yeah.
You will. It actually can be really good.
It can be super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, at least like for me, I mean, I really love that just, you know, that little time of going for an epic ride, coming back immediately, putting the feet up, having a delicious meal, just
Yeah.
And I was gonna mention with the food stuff, like, you don't have to make it super complicated. Like you said, kale and eggs and rice, and like, you know, try and simplify that stuff down and get the most bang for your buck in terms of nutrition and calories and recovery. But you don't have to like make fancy, in-depth, complex meals every night. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to like just, you know, sort of streamline the whole experience so that you can just immediately maximize recovery. And
Yeah. And you can do it on your own, and then, or you can come to my house.
Sure.
And I'll do it all for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna get masseuse, cooks, chefs, mechanics. It's all gonna be right there. You won't need to rent a car. You won't need to, you know, go grocery shopping. You won't need to get a hotel. It's lodging right there. We're gonna do real small, 1-to-1 coach to camper ratios, so you won't have to worry about whether you're in shape or enough. You know, we're gonna ride to your pace, and we're gonna do big rides. We're gonna do TSS rides. We're gonna get in a big dose of training, but you're also gonna get the pro experience with the coaching support and the nutrition support and recovery support.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward
awesome.
to it. Jackson will be there too.
I'll be suffering on the back filming you guys.
That's right. We're gonna get a follow car and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. And in Colorado, we have to wait until June, July, and August to make this happen. We've done training camps in the past in April. Jake can attest to this. We had one training camp that happened in the snow. It sucked. It was 4 days of riding in the rain and misery. We couldn't do any of the great loops, and so after that, I was like, well, we're never going to do a training camp again in April. And we did it in June, and last 2 days of that camp, it rained. And so really, you can count on great weather in Boulder basically after Memorial Day and then into September. But if you try to do a camp in April or March or even February, you're at the mercy of old man winter or the random snowstorm. So for that, go to California, go to Texas, go to the South, go to Hawaii or wherever, a warm weather destination. Take the weather out of the equation of whether or not you're going to be able to get in the rides. And Tucson, Phoenix also.
Yeah, and go with your friends. I think that's a cool thing. It's like, it's fun to do a solo training camp, but it's also a great opportunity to get in some really quality training by having a group there and like having that energy. Yeah, having that energy of like the group makes a big difference.
If you're on a team, it doesn't matter if you're masters, Cat 3, Cat 4, or pro. Organize everyone. It starts with like, hey, I've got a house.
Yeah.
It's got 4 bedrooms. We can sleep 10. Who's in? You know, and then someone take the lead and like plan out the rides. These days, what we did in Mill Valley was we planned out all our routes on Strava and Ride with GPS. In Strava, we planned all the rides out. I'd been out there for the Oot route. I knew what climbs we wanted to hit. We planned out some sweet loops, and we saved those. And Strava's got this really nice feature where you just share the ride with your other Strava friends.
Yeah.
So the other 3 guys shared those rides with them. They downloaded that to their Garmin or their Bolt. And so when we're out there riding, everyone's got the ride on their computer, and we all knew what turns to make. It was so awesome because I didn't have to be the tour guide. It's like
pulling out your phone all the time with the maps and
Yeah, Dr. Nathan had a Garmin 1020, and he was always like, right turn.
Wow.
And it was so nice to, even if you got separated for just like a short period of time, or if you were at the back of the group, you didn't have to like be in the front.
Yeah.
And everyone knew where the top of every climb was, how much further we had to go, how much climbing we had done relative to the total day of climbing. And knowing that kind of helped them prepare mentally.
Yeah.
How much food to eat, hey, this is going to be a 9,000 foot day. You better, eat your Wheaties and pull on your big boy pants.
Yeah.
And we motivated each other. That was another thing that training camps do. You're probably going to do more with your teammates and your friends training wise than you would on your own. Cause there's that element of, support. I think Colby, what do you call it? The accountability buddy?
Accountability buddy. Yeah.
Accountability buddy.
I love that.
Yeah. There was our third day in Mill Valley. It was raining. We knew it. And there was talk of like taking a rest day. It was that much rain. And we got up in the morning and it was pouring, but then everyone's like Mr. Meteorologist. And we found a window of time and we were like, dudes, let's do it. And we got out there and, it was great. It wasn't raining and we did 2 hours and then we were like, hey, this is fine. Let's keep going. And we all knew it was going to be raining and we rode in the pouring rain and I would never have done that by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Pouring rain. And, one of the guys was like, we came here to ride. And I was like, yes, we are. And it's super motivating. And so, training camp is going to get you an experience like that. And that includes one with your team or, paying for, like a Thompson tour, a truck traveler in Gamba, you're going to get that element of like, yes, we are riding. So what about the weather? So what if you're tired? Get out there on the bike. Let's all do this together.
Yeah.
So, let's take some questions.
Yeah. There was one question talking about altitude camps. I think that is something good to touch on. What are your thoughts on doing altitude camps? Because that throws another variable in.
Yeah. So what was the context of the altitude camp? Are you preparing for a race at altitude or are you just looking for altitude benefits?
Right.
Do we know?
No, it's just Julian just asked.
So
what about a 2-week altitude camp?
Well, 2 week, that's more than a training camp.
Yeah.
That's a training block.
Yeah.
So this year, Masters Nationals is in Colorado Springs, so it's a pretty good question. Can I do an altitude training camp? The exposure you need to altitude needs to be 3 to 4 weeks minimum to realize the benefit. And a 2-week altitude camp is just not going to force the physiological adaptations to realize the benefits of an altitude camp. Therefore, it's impractical to most unless you have a month. Phil Gaiman's got his Wattage Cottage up in Big Bear. He does an altitude camp out there, but he goes up and lives there for like 3 or 4 weeks.
And isn't it, you have to be pretty high up, like even higher than Boulder, right? You have to be up at 7,000-8,000 feet to really get the full benefits.
You need a differential of about 5,000 feet if you want to do the live high, train low paradigm. I mean, some riders don't have that. You just go live high.
Yeah.
But honestly, you're not a pro. You're fighting the grain. Unless you're like retired and you want to come live at Colorado for a month and do some great riding, you can do it all here in Boulder and then go back to sea level and realize the benefits. But just bear in mind, it takes a while for those physiological benefits. Just because you come up to altitude for 4 days or 2 weeks is, it's tough to get a benefit from that.
John Carlo asks, how much time is too long for a camp?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what kind of rider you are and what kind of training loads you can handle. You talk with Coach Isaiah. They just did, he did a 30-hour week in Tucson and then did a 26-hour week with a team in Oakland. Last week we talked about the whale and mammalian physiology and the Brontosaurus T-Rex and reptilian physiology. That's the max.
Yeah.
You talk to Chris Froome, they might do a 30, 40-hour camp. You just got to assess what level you are, and then guess what? Your legs are going to let you know during the camp of what's too much and what's not enough.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to feel it out. This is where having a coach would help. This is where having done a similar block, drawing upon that experience would help. I know from experience, like what I just reinforced that, my Marin Valley block of 16 hours in 4 days that's about, physically the limit of what I can do.
You can get a lot out of a week, and especially with other life stuff, like a week is kind of a long time to be in that monk mode. And so it's, unless you have unlimited resources and time, like it's, you have to like we've been talking about with the recovery, the nutrition, and the, you know, putting in those big hours, like that's hard to do for most people practically. And so, but you can do that relatively easily within a week.
If you have someone taking care of you and all you have to do is ride, you can do a 20 to 30 hour week. If you're training for the oat route a week long, last year the Rockies was 35 hours.
Wow.
It's legit. You need to do a 20 to 30 hour, 20 to 25 hour, block of training just to prepare. So training camps can be used to prepare for stage races and for events like the oat route, to get close to that level to experience it. And of course, you change your FTP when you go up or down for altitude at a training camp. It's just a function of oxygen and the effect it has on wattage. Another thing about training camps is, what you alluded to, don't do too much too soon. And really spread out that load as much as you can over the course of the time that you have. So it's like Goldilocks, porridge too hot, porridge too cold, porridge just right. So not too big of a ride, not too small of a ride, medium rides day after day after day. That's how you build the best thing.
This is just, and this, comes with experience, knowing your body, knowing yourself, knowing, having a trusting relationship with a coach or with your training, with your PMC, and most importantly, just not focusing too much on the duration of the camp, but the quality. I'm a big fan of quality over quantity. It's like, if you could do a 2 or 3 week long training camp, but is that going to burn you out? Are you going to is that mentally just really frying for you and draining, being in that monk mode mentality for so long and being away? Or is it just like, okay, let's punch it and get the most bang for our buck out of this week by focusing super hard on the nutrition and what you're eating, focusing super hard on the recovery, acting like a pro cyclist for a week, and then coming back into real life, back into the training, back into the flow, because you can get a ton of benefit from that.
Tons of benefit. If you do a 7-day camp and you do 6 hours the first day, 5 the next, 4 the next, you're going with the grain of fatigue. So big ride, a little bit less big ride, less big ride. So 6, 5, 4, rest day, 5, 4, 3. I think that adds up to 25 hours. Yeah. I challenge anyone to try that. That's pro level. What you want to watch out for is doing junk miles. If you get to the 3rd day of each of those 3-day blocks and you're only pedaling zone 1, just go home, rest. You're not doing anyone any good. You're not absorbing that training. Zone 1 is, then you're getting into junk miles. So, having experience of what you've been able to do before, and I'm not talking 10 years ago, I'm talking last year.
Yeah.
Draw upon that, plan it out, and spread out the load. Take your rest before, and then if the training camp is helping you hit peak CTL, plan like a rest week afterwards. And then you asked about field testing. That's the perfect time to field test. Go do a ton of training, achieve your peak CTL for the year, come back home, take a rest week, blast out a field test, update your power-based zones, and then you're ready to start doing intervals.
And then I think this is also a great time to talk about the differentiation between a training camp like we're talking about here and a cycling-based vacation, because I've done some trips overseas, over in Europe with some friends and family, and you're in a new place, you're on vacation, and sure, maybe you have your bike, maybe you're riding every day, but the purpose of that isn't necessarily to be training, because you want to go out and to the local restaurants and you want to drink some wine if you're in Italy, or you want to go see the sights and go walk around the city for all day.
You're not in monk mode. You're in enjoy life mode.
Yeah, you're living the dream. Yeah. And so that's great to do as well, but I wouldn't try and coincide a training camp with a cycling vacation, especially if, like you said, you're with family or something. You can do it, but those two things are very tough, I think, to do it, at the same time. Yeah,
I mean, you can call them the same. You're like, hey, sweet, I'll take this cycling trip and I'll get a big boost in my training, and that is true. But just like you're not doing intervals on a team training camp when all your teammates, don't be that guy that doesn't want to go out to dinner at this sweet 5-star Michelin restaurant.
It's super lame to just lay around at the Airbnb in the Dolomites or something while you're on your training camp, just the rest of the day just eating rice. Like that's
right.
That's not a fun way to live your life, and you have to kind of parse out. Yeah. Okay, what is my goal here? Like. You can't get to be just this super obsessive pro cyclist mindset when you're trying to also enjoy a vacation.
Absolutely. And if you're training for like a race, like if you're doing a stage race or you're training for states or nationals or this and that, that's where a good, training camp can set you up for success. And so if you're a masters racer and you're thinking about a cycling trip or a cycling camp, think of what your goals are. There's nothing wrong with it. I would love to take a cycling trip.
Another idea too is like, okay, what is, one of your maybe B races of the year, maybe bookend a training camp.
Oh yeah.
Before or after. So it's like, maybe it's not your most serious
so
race
the Valley
of the
of the
year.
Sun is this weekend.
Valley of the Sun. Like go out there a week early, pump out some good miles, eat really well, sleep really well, recover, go into the race and use that to just carry you over that hill. And like, man, that is a great block right there. And so like I used to do that a lot, go out early. Like San Dimas is another one. It was usually right at the end of spring break for me. So I'd go out to California a week early for spring break, do San Dimas, rest up afterwards. You're ready for Redlands and, some of the other early season races.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of teams from Colorado, they're going to go do Valley of the Sun tomorrow.
Is Tucson Bicycle Classic still a thing?
Yeah, in March.
Okay.
And then they're going to stay out there after Valley of the Sun next week to get in some miles. What you don't want to do is do your camp and then go to Valley of the Sun. Yeah. Because then you're tired and you don't race well. But Jackson's hit on a really good point. Choose a race and then you do your riding there. Stay after, and that could be the same for training camp or cycling.
Or use it as a training race, like if you don't, it just depends on the timing, obviously. But you don't want to do it before or after your, a race of the year.
That's right. Yeah. Use that to set you up for future success. Use it to get in your miles, raise your CTL, get in your volume. I mean, the pros, they'll do, they do old school. I don't think they talk in terms of TSS, but they're just time in the saddle.
Yeah.
That's what, for all the Zone 2 polarized fans, time in the saddle. Most of your riding will default into Zone 2 when you're not pushing it on the climbs or just within the group. So look into getting a lot of volume, more than you would, and take rest before and after. Don't forget your nutrition and recover. And that mostly starts with setting yourself up to get at least 8 hours of sleep.
Sleep is king.
Sleep is king. If you want to go next level, bring your Normatex. If you want to go next level above that,
get a massage while you're there.
Arrange for someone to come in and give you a massage. You can, partner with a bike shop. They can set you up with all that. Or you can come to my house in the summer and we'll have a massage, a mechanic, a chef, the works. It's just, it'll be, all you have to do is ride your bike and eat and sleep.
Yeah.
Ride, eat, sleep.
It's living the dream right there.
Is this the Hail Mary time where we say one or two more questions?
Yeah. Any more questions? We'll wrap this up here in the next few minutes, but we really appreciate you all listening. It's fun to chat and fun to see people are interested in what we have to say. So training camps are super fun. Like that's the
super fun.
We can get into the weeds about what it should look like, and maybe it seems overwhelming and stressful, but like the key thing is like it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be this way to, accomplish a goal of building your volume, but also have fun and go somewhere new you've never been to, like Mill Valley or Tucson or whatever, and just experience what that's like. And some of my best favorite memories from being a bike racer are on training camps. Like it's just an awesome way to
productive fun.
Exactly.
Productive fun.
Yeah.
So for everyone out there in training plan land who wonders how this fits in with FTFPing, again, this is a custom solution. You don't need to buy a training plan for this. Just listen to this podcast, edit your plan, but use the Facebook group that we invite you to that comes with our plans to, maybe drill down on your own specific question. But really, I think you want to just edit your plan and punch in duration and TSS. Use that use that along with the performance manager chart, like what we talked about last week, and just go ahead and plan it out now. That's the beauty of the chart and Training Peaks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
Oh,
a flurry of questions at the last minute.
Chad Fisher, how will you announce the dates for the coaching intensive weekends?
Yeah, good question. June, July, and August, and it's going to be limit 2 riders per weekend. It's not going to be cheap, sorry, but we're going to provide everything for you. So stay tuned for that. Concerns of peaking too early, Jonathan Day. Yeah, training camps is all about timing. So you got to figure that out. Don't do it. Training camps in January set you up really well for something in February, March. So if you're looking to peak in May, for example, April's a great time. Hit that peak CTL, come back home, allow 2 to 5, 6 weeks for intervals. You'll be crushing it. So time that training camp in relation to your first A race.
Cool.
What did Ann say? Oh, training camps. Yes. Rollers. No, there's no rollers in training camps. So I'll have some more information about the coaching intensive weekends as we go along. And thanks a lot for listening. Again, I think everyone's already subscribed, but maybe share this Facebook post, video, share our podcast with a teammate or friend that you want to do a training camp with, and say, hey guys, they said do a training camp. Let's get organized, and that would make us really happy if you just have a great time and post us pictures of you on your training camp crushing big climbs and big amounts of volume.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll speak again next week. Next week
is our every 4-week Q&A.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So good email us, help@FasCatCoaching.com with your questions. This is any topic you want. Next week is not a specific topic, but it's a Q&A, so maybe it's something you've thought of in the last 4 weeks. And we will answer your questions live next Thursday, 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m.
11 p.m. 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Mountain, yeah, okay.
Yeah, next week, same time, same batch.
I hate time zone changes.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Peace.